Alright, we're calling meeting to order. First of all, we'll have to pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hold out. All right.
Okay. First up, we have comments from citizens. If any citizens would like to make some comments.
Yeah, I would.
Sure. State your name and address.
My name's Jason Scott. I live at 121 North Allen Street, the rear apartment of Dr. Luke's eye doctor.
Okay.
The only reason I came in this evening was Father's Day weekend. A fire alarm went off at Chance's for 12 hours and 41 minutes. I asked Centralia Police Department during the alarm going off that night, in the middle of the night, and the following morning, when it might go off. I was hung up on every time. They would not give me a reason for why it was going off or why it was not shut off. Several days following that, I called them continuously during the afternoons and was never given an answer why it wasn't shut off or why Chance's wasn't issued a peace disturbance. I understand that chance is chance. They bump and thump. I've been here 15 years, and that's what they do. You know, they make noise. I live not even 40 yards from the railroad tracks, and I can hear them dump out the bins of metal loud and clear through my walls. They're obligated to do that. That's what Chance does. I continued to try and get an answer why Chance was not issued a peace disturbance. You know, you could hear that alarm at the high school. I walked all the way to the high school that morning at 7:15. And the alarm did not go off until after 9:30. I asked continuously for a reason why they would not be charged, and was refused an answer, was asked to leave the police station. I went back to the police station several days in a row asking the same question to different officers. The last time I went to the police station, I was informed that if I didn't leave, I was going to jail. And I continued to ask the question, why? And I was taken to jail for trespassing at 114 South Rollins. Bonded out, and have continued to ask the same question and have still not been given an answer. Just would like to know if any of y'all might be able to answer that question for me, because my peace was disturbed.
I certainly don't know the answer to that.
Which day was this again?
The police department?
No, not the day that
15th and 16th.
15th and 16th, and it was going
Father's Day
off.
weekend. It was a holiday weekend. The only reason I was given why the alarm was not shut off.
15th and 16th. And how long did it run from 7:15?
It ran from just after 8 o'clock until 9:40 something in the morning. And I've been to Chance and asked Chance about it, and they said that the only reason they can give me to why the fire alarm was not shut off was because that it was a holiday weekend. And like I said, I've since been given a verbal trespass for the police department, and I'm not allowed there, which is this address.
Has that alarm gone off again since
No.
then? No.
It hasn't went off like that in 15 years. I lived prior to 111 or 121. I lived at 111 South Hickman, which is right across from the lumber company. And like I said, I've been there for 15 years. That alarm never done that, holiday weekend or not. You know, I feel like my peace was disturbed, and that they should have been given some kind of justification or reasoning why it was going off for over 12 hours. You know, it really irritated me. I have a nice 50-inch television screen in my living room. The volume goes to 120. You turn it to 120 and sit on my sofa and still hear that bell ring. And until about 3 o'clock that afternoon, I took ibuprofen because I could still hear that bell ring. You know, after 12 hours of hearing the school bell go off, not 65 yards from your doorstep, it just kept on ringing in my head. I just figured I'd come and ask maybe somebody could give me a reason why Chance's has never been issued a summons for peace disturbance. The police department said that they will not do so.
Yeah.
But I can say that I know my peace was disturbed, and if I can walk all the way to the high school at 7 o'clock in the morning, still awake because this alarm was going off, could hear it loud and clear standing in high school parking lot. I walked up and down Sim Street and knocked on doors the day after I was arrested, and every person I knocked on the door that was home heard that alarm on Sim Street. So And I probably should have took a piece of paper with me, got a whole bunch of signatures from anybody that would like to make a complaint, but I didn't. I just went door to door to see if anybody, it bothered anyone. It did bother several people.
Well, I guess what we can do is, I'll talk to the police department and see, what their response is.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if at all you do get an answer, I'll come back to the next meetings. Maybe I could get one in writing,
Okay.
because
I'll,
honestly, I was done pretty wrong. I did follow, continuously ask the
I'll look
police
into it.
department. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, next up is the water and sewer department. We have an activity report in our packet. And we have a question.
You want to close the comments from citizens?
Yes, I assume that they were those as one person.
Thanks.
Do you have any questions on the activity report? Rescinding requirements for flowable fill.
Well, we've kind of been talking, we've been probably using flowable fill as an ordinance, and I don't know, Glenn, if you know how long we've lived in, it's probably been about 16, 17 years we've had that.
It's been city policy, although I don't recall it's been in the ordinance.
I thought it was, but anyway, we have been requiring people, whenever they dig in the street, sewer, water, with any depth, to put flowable fill back in. It's very costly. It's supposed to set up, if you don't know what flowable fill is, it looks like a sand mixture. You get it from a concrete company. It's supposed to set up within 8 hours so you can drive right over the top of it. It's good for not letting the cuts settle after, people drive over and stuff. It doesn't settle out, so you don't have a dip everywhere you dug. It has been pretty good about that. The problem we've run into on this, where the water department is, if there's any utilities underneath there, we can't get a consistent mix. They're supposed to have different mix levels, like bag mix, that you can get so that you can redig this back up. That's one of the advantages of having it rather than just doing a concrete. We haven't got any consistency. One load may look just like more water than sand. The next load may be real thick, and it may set up like concrete. You can't dig it out. Phil's went back to dig some of these, and I'll let him explain some of that.
I've dug out some of them that don't have to have a jackhammer to ever find his utilities. I mean, it's all we can do to get them scratched out to get asphalt down.
He's only doing 4 to 6 inch cuts usually on top of them just to go ahead and pave over them. We've had a couple instances where we've had to get back in to get to a water line 3 foot deep, sewer line 5 to 6 foot. If that's solid concrete basically in a 2 foot trench, we're gonna have to make a bigger hole just to get down in there and get that out. So we're kind of thinking maybe rock would be better to go back to. It's not near as expensive for us or the residents, not that that's an issue. There may be some circumstances where we still may need to use the flowable fill. I mean, our main streets, but I don't know how you're gonna require one time and not the other person to do the same thing, but, Phil had a suggestion, maybe we need to look at policing the street cuts a little bit better, because sometimes they happen on a weekend. Who knows what they do and how they fill them back, and they look filled on the top, but how well it was packed or whatever.
Correct. Require permits or something for digging into our streets.
But we're not having a lot of luck. I've had actually 2 sewers that were pulled apart because they thought, well, this stuff just blows in, it'll take care of itself. It is like a concrete and it is heavy. And if they use like a sewer line, 2 fern coats with rubber bands on it, it'll pull those flat apart if it's put in too quick. And I've had that. When it pulls that apart, it gets down to the main. I got a picture and I didn't have a chance to print it off, but it actually filled half the sewer main up for quite a ways, and then we had to dig that out and cut a section of the main out just to fix it. It's been a while. We've had another service within the last 6 months that did the same thing. So it's really not working for the purpose that it was intended for, as far as I see it, because we're supposed to be able to get back in and do it, but still leave a good road base. We're gonna have to look at getting rock compacted back into a good level at different intervals, or do something different, I'm not sure what. It's gonna get left with Phil, I'm afraid, as far as what he's gonna have to fix and stuff, and like I say, I'm gonna have to make a bigger hole if we have to go back in, it's just like concrete.
I'm not exactly sure, is this a product that the concrete companies sell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do they have any kind of quality assurance, thank you? That-
Haven't been able to get an answer on that, and the problem is, what we get, some of the guys show up, the drivers will show up and throw the mix in when they get there, some of them had it going since they've left the shop. There's just no consistency, and it really does, we get most of ours from like Central or what's the other one?
Columbia River, or
Yeah.
Audrey.
No, we use all
Columbia.
some Columbia Ready Mix.
Yeah.
We've had it from both, and it's pretty much the same way, and nobody can exactly tell you what that magic number is to get it set up, what bag mix it's supposed to be, and I think that's part of the problem.
So they did, like, if they're 3 foot in the ground, they just fill that whole 3 foot with,
Yeah, now if I've got a water line, copper water line, I've gotta get something over the top of that, because that's just like concrete, it'll eat it
see,
up.
Columbia, they do, rock, and then they 8 inches of concrete, and leave 2 inches below the asphalt, so you can go back and pave over top of it, is what Columbia does.
Right, well, the whole idea with that was what they told us when we started using it was fill it to the top, let them run over it after the 8-hour time, and it has been set up. And if it's a little high, it'll actually get the traffic and grind it down to where it's at a perfect level usually. And go with it, and then he digs it out and puts his asphalt in if he can dig it out.
That's what Columbia does, when we tear up the street, we got to put rock back up, then 8 inches of concrete,
Yeah.
and leave it 2 inches low, so they can put 2
3/4
inches.
inch or 1 inch clean.
Yeah, 1 inch clean.
That's,
Clean.
And
and
then
that's what we
then they
use.
make you leave it 2 inches low, so you put 2 inches of asphalt, but right back over top of it.
Terry Harper just did the sewer over here for Justin Roman on Pool Street. And he requested and asked if it'd be all right to bed his pipe with rock, which you don't want to just put that soup mixture in there, because you're gonna have a hard time getting it to hold level. Told him to go ahead and do that, and go over the top of the pipe good, and then he came up with the flow was built from there. And he may have come up about 2 foot, but still, that's a lot, it was almost 8 foot down.
Yeah,
And
so
that's a big cost to the people, that's almost $100 a yard, about the same as concrete right
Yeah.
now.
No, it's not much different, you're paying for the haul.
And you can get a lot of rock for that, and still be able to dig it back out later on.
yeah. And that's what Columbia does.
Little bit of
So that's something we could do.
When we first looked into this, we were having a problem, and every utility cut we made, inside of a year, it had a rut like that we had to go back and do another lift of asphalt, and sometimes a couple years after that, do another one. So we had heard from Columbia, heard from a lot of the cities over in St. Louis, that they were using flowable fill. And maybe it's because they have vendors that use it all the time, and we use it somewhat infrequently, like every couple of months, maybe,
Yeah,
which means that drivers never get used to it. But the idea is that stuff, with a backhoe, you just shave it out. You can carve it almost like sand, building sandcastles or something like that. It doesn't compress, but it doesn't set up like concrete. Well, obviously, it has not worked. So,
I mean, we tore up a lot of streets, we've never put flowable fill back in. It's clean rock and then 8 inches concrete, then 2 inches of asphalt.
you know, and I think a lot of times, Lynn, thinking back, we were talking, we started this when Randy I was forming over the water department, that's about how long it's been, so we're talking
straight.
Street, yeah, whatever. But they used to use a lot of just rollstone mix because it would pack so much, and if they had that on the bottom, especially if it was wet around a water or sewer line, you're just making jelly, and that's sooner or later gonna settle out.
Yeah.
And I think that was a problem we used to run into.
Well, that's why Columbia uses clean fill, and the county
Yeah.
uses clean.
Yeah.
That's all we use anymore.
Yeah,
that's
It's
what-
clean.
The 1 inch, and we haven't
Now,
had a problem.
the disadvantage of clean fill is it holds water. but you don't have the settlement, and you don't have to worry about compaction.
Well, what we've been doing, we'll fill it almost up to another 4 to 6 inches with 1 inch clean, and then we put the rollstone on top because it'll stay in the cut too. So, just to do that, and he's gonna dig it out and patch it anyway, so it doesn't seem to scatter out as bad
Right.
as the 1 inch.
I don't know whether-
1 inch doesn't settle.
Probably a solution would be for us because we don't have concrete streets in most places, and putting concrete back to fill the trench across an asphalt street, particularly the old asphalt streets around here, doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense.
Well, I've always wondered about putting a cap on top of the utilities so that you got the jackhammer out the concrete cap later on
I
anyway.
mean, you're not supposed to have to jack, I mean, you're supposed to be.
No, I,
shackled
with the
up.
flow of the fill, what Columbia requires is concrete.
Yeah, we use
It's
8
8
bag
inches of
2%.
concrete.
We use higher,
And whatever the ditch is, you gotta go 1 foot beyond that
Yep.
with your concrete.
so,
So is that a thing to handle the settlement, the
Well,
support
it-
underneath,
it's
that's not?
Thing, you end up with, probably with a void between the top of the rock and the bottom of the concrete.
Well,
Eventually,
no, you're
never
using clean
settle.
rock, so you're not supposed to have settlement.
Not supposed to.
But it's supposed to bridge it, yeah, if there's any problems.
I mean, that makes sense to me, because then you don't end up.
But then if you ever have to dig that up again, you're out there with a jackhammer because that's concrete. I mean, it's a 5 or 6 bag mix. I
we
assume
use
it's a
8
5
bag, we use 8 bag,
8 bag?
higher,
Yeah,
so they
okay.
can, so they can drive over
Yeah.
at 8 hours.
Yeah.
In this case, we tried something and experience has shown us that the cure was as bad as the problem ultimately. And I don't think an education with the concrete people is going to help us because they'll have enough turnover that it would never be finalized.
Well,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Has this come up in the, I guess, the department head meeting already?
Yes.
You guys have already decided what you wanted to do, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm not into micromanaging. If you guys think you found a solution that suits you all better, I don't want to sit here and second guess it.
Or
So,
if we need to take action, tell us what you want to do.
There you go. Let's,
I think we need to quit requiring people to put it in the streets. I think Phil's got a good idea that we need maybe police a little bit better, so maybe have somebody inspect the work. I think that ought to be a requirement. And it not only covers him, it covers on how the stuff's put in the hole. I've got a water main there and they're working on a sewer line below it, they're just dumping rock. Old Transite Main's not gonna take it.
okay. So, I can't exactly say I'd like to present that in the form of a motion.
Well,
Do
if
we
you're
need
gonna
to
require a
do that?
permit, you're gonna need an ordinance if you're gonna go with permits.
So, do you want to develop an ordinance for us to look
I
into?
can, sure, I can put it off of Columbia.
There you go. How's that?
Works for us.
Next subject.
Well, we'll present an ordinance that may not be, it'll be tweaked from Columbia's to deal with.
I'm not sure that I like the concrete cap that Columbia.
Right, I don't
Yeah,
like
that-
it
and
either,
that's why
but
it's gonna be.
there are several cities and they're all probably pretty close. The problem will be the number of contractors and people who wanna do work on Saturday.
Emory East contractor.
And that means if we have the permit, somebody's gonna have to be called out to do the inspections on weekends.
Well, I mean, if we need to have a permit, then there ought to be a fee for it. If they wanna do it on weekends, maybe the fee ought to be a little higher.
I'll do that.
For free?
Well,
What, did you have something to say, Phil?
I was gonna Jim, Emory U East contractor, they use concrete already here in town. That's what they do, they'll go concrete.
All the way to the top.
Some of them, they'll do all the way top, some of them will stop and do asphalt like you're talking.
I mean, I'm not against the concrete.
Like
8
Mark said-
inches ain't that
like
hard
Mark
to tear
said,
out.
8 inches jackhammer.
It's not that
I
hard
think
to
you'd have
tear
a
out.
lot less settling problems, and
We've got so many
We've
streets
got
that
the
got
hammer
concrete.
attachment.
And then if they leave it 2 inches, then you don't have to go back and dig it out and you camp
Yeah.
right over top of it and you're done.
Yep.
You're out of
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
it. Yeah.
Okay,
All right, I mean.
Then we get new streets.
Okay,
out.
we need to re-amend now.
Oh, we don't have to amend much of anything, sir. Like,
jackhammer attachment.
I'll present
Yeah,
an
we got one.
a draft ordinance, and it'll have some pick and choose
Okay,
That you can make a decision before we.
has anybody talked to Dave Hayden about this? Okay, he's the mix guy over at Columbia. He's kind of a local guy. I will ask him about the floor fill and see what
We
he
talked to
says.
Ron Wingscott. We had talked to him over the years about it.
And his answer basically was, good luck.
Well, there's different bag mix for whatever you wanna use and whatever your whole consistency. Like I'm fixing a water line, we try to get all that water, mud, and can out of there before we put it in. Then you're adding a product that's got a lot of water in it anyway.
It just depends on the driver. I mean, the driver may water 4 times coming from Columbia.
Well, and
Put
that's the thing.
5 gallon of water, you know.
We put it in a hole and 2 days later,
Yeah.
it's still too wet to drive on before.
I mean, we put it in pipes and
Tell them
it's,
you want it dry, and then let it up to you what consistency you want when you get it here.
you tell them dry and it may
Then
still
when you
be,
get- When you get that, it's not mixed properly
Yeah.
and it doesn't set up like it should, so.
yeah.
So I guess what I'm getting at is there some kind of protocol that we could develop that's pretty clear when it leaves down there, and for somebody that knows what they're doing on this end
Now you're-
to basically say, let me look at it, you need to put
No,
You're still not
50
gonna
gallons
know.
of water in this thing, and let's look at it again. No,
If it's too, what if it's too wet?
that's what I'm saying, that you almost gotta get a standard protocol to keep them from jockeying with it
But
so
the
bad.
problem is, you still won't know how, what the mix is until it sets up.
Yeah.
Right, because
You won't have
the trip
this.
from here, from Columbia to here, depending on how much humidity there is
Yeah,
in
this
there.
stuff looks,
And
It
then,
looks the same no
It
matter
looks
what.
like sand
Yeah.
and water.
yeah, it looks just like you went
Why?
to the beach edge, right at the edge of the
Yeah.
water.
Okay, it's obvious I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's move on again.
Alright. Okay. Alright. Next up, miscellaneous supplies.
I got a distribution here, bid here, and I need to ask what she's got for water and sewers total down there. Is that 4981 or 4984?
4981.5.
5981.
5981.
Man, I ain't got glasses on. 5984 is what that's
81.
supposed to be. It's supposed to be 84.
84.
Yeah. We were at a toss up there on what that was.
Point
I
44?
re-added, it is, yeah, 5984.44.
okay.
As you can tell by the next bid underneath that from HD Supply, there's a little bit of difference, which is unusual for these two companies. They're usually very close. But water and sewer is a low bid, and that's the one I would recommend. It's the same stuff from two different people.
Do you need those ordered?
I can probably hold off to regular meeting on that.
There's no reason to though, is there?
Well, you got 5 people, I don't think that'll affect the
If
outcome.
you wanna do it, that'd be.
If you're all in agreement.
If they need the supplies, they need the supplies. I go ahead and get it.
I move we approve the purchase from Water and Sewer Supply for miscellaneous supplies in the amount of $5,984.44.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Thank
those
you.
opposed?
All right, go get
Motion
some supplies,
passes.
get to work.
Okay, next up, oh, is there any other under water?
Report on GIS, they should finish up pretty much all the sewer this week, and they're doing some last minute stuff on the water, and then they'll give me a map to check that out. Sewer, we're getting pretty close on, with the exception of maybe behind the sawmill, we're gonna have to go in and find some stuff out there, and need a lot of sawdust. But we'll get that, and
What's that fire?
they've done a really good job. They actually found the blockage and called us, told us about it. But it's in an area that nobody's between Bicentennial Park and Southwest Country Estates out there. So I'm glad they did that. They noticed a couple other things, manhole frames that were cracked and stuff, told us about that we got changed. So they've done real good. They found stuff that I don't know how they found off our maps without knowing how they actually ran through the woods and stuff, so they've done well.
Sounds good.
Well, they haven't done down beyond,
Wakers.
well, across Sweeney's by the creek. There's that one manhole you'll never have found.
Now, Sawmill, the Highway 22 is gonna be interesting, see if we can find it. They will have to come back for some cleanup later on as far as us and him. And we may have to, they kind of talked about maybe waiting until the tree, the foliage was off and stuff. Us go through everything, make sure we were 100% on everything, and then finish up at that point. They can have it pretty much done except for those areas right there.
Yeah.
They've already given me a preliminary map to go over. I went over it and marked up all the notes and just gave that back to them today. So,
And I've done the same on the sewer, haven't did the water yet.
Okay.
They haven't started on my smoke sewer.
They're probably not going to.
He told me.
Okay. Next up, electric department. We have an activity report in our package. Anybody have any questions or comments on the activity report? Any other under electric? Gosh. Nothing left?
No,
We'll move on to the public works.
they didn't have time to get the mischief
Yeah, I-
in Minnesota.
There is an activity report in our packet on, street and sanitation.
How's the new trash truck working out?
We're good.
How's the old one working?
Just got it back Friday,
All right.
so we have used it. We're gonna get it all checked. The guys went there and kind of went through everything seems to be all right, so we'll probably maybe give it a little trial run before we absolutely need it, so.
Yeah, if you,
That'd be a
on
good
what we
idea.
need it.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. Next up,
Excuse me, the street sweeper, how often does that thing get run? Has that been a good purchase or not?
Yeah, we sweep once a week, and then in the spring and fall, we'll sweep more.
Okay,
And usually like in the fall, we'll sweep, maybe all day, a few days, trying to keep up with the leaves. And in the spring, the same thing, trying to just get everything cleaned back up. Then normally we just do it once a week.
but it hasn't given you any fits at all?
Not yet. Knock on wood, but yeah, so
Right,
far,
it's a lot.
it's been a pretty good little machine. We used the backhoes on it, we used that an entire day, one day, and went sucked out about probably half the inlets in town. Just went around, checked them, just sucked them out. That thing works really good.
Thank you very much.
okay. Sounds good.
Were some of those inlets in Ward 1?
That side, Jim?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That leads us in the streets anyway, so anything on the streets?
Started on Switzerland Street pretty quick.
They're staking on.
They're,
doing that
they're
today.
supposed to be starting tomorrow. Sure, we had a preliminary meeting, I don't know, what day is that, last Wednesday?
last Tuesday.
Wednesday, something like that, Monday last week, and, they're supposed to be getting up here and getting started, so. Canning Company, Canning Construction.
Actually excavating
Yep.
and all that.
Yep, we got up here and started ripping it all out.
But I saw a surveyor this morning, he was staking on it. They're getting close. Sanitation. I guess we already had a report on our trucks. Storm sewer.
Just been doing lots of little drainage projects.
Okay. Any other on the streets? No? Lynn? Next up, other. No other? Yes, sir?
Did you ever find anything out about that EPA document I showed you?
No, I did not. I could not figure out what was, I couldn't make heads or tails out of it.
I got a call about that today, and I haven't had a
And I
chance to check on it.
apologize, I should have went to you instead of him. I don't understand it either, but it seems to say that the city's not in compliance on some things, but
We
if I
haven't,
can't understand it,
we haven't had any violations or anything. District 10 called me. I'm supposed to go out there tomorrow.
anything about what they're up to.
Well, they were contacted, so.
We've gotten some letters saying we're in violation. It's usually been that they lost the paperwork. It's been administrative violations, and they say we didn't give a report, and we send them by a certified mail a copy of the report, and they say, oh, well, never mind. Very aggravating.
Efficiency of big government.
We haven't been discharging,
Yeah,
And this started 2 years.
right.
almost 3.
All three.
So there's nothing to violate if you're not discharged.
Yeah, that's part of what confuses me, that's
And
why I
test,
showed it to.
we haven't had any test problems.
Discharge.
Yeah, for the water system, we do copper and lead tests, and those have all come back clean.
We're actually doing those
Just
right now,
did
by the way.
certified lab tests that I gotta send in the report for, that's all clean too.
Well, this was supposedly for ammonia and nitrate, but
We've been testing for that for special, and
and
you see,
my question would be, if the EPA has you out of compliance, why haven't you heard from the DNR? Because I thought they were more on top of that than.
Well,
Isn't the way it kind of works that the EPA basically contracts with DNR to handle the State of Missouri and Clean Water Act regulation and monitoring and all that stuff? So if it's not being issued by DNR, I mean, they're boots on the ground in Missouri for water quality.
Yeah.
It's gonna come through DNR. If it's EPA, I'm not sure how they sidestep the people they've got contracted to be doing the day-to-day in Missouri. I mean, unless it's a major thing, and I still think DNR would be involved.
And that's,
EPA will disagree with DNR with large policy points, like how many streams are on the fishable and swimmable list, or something like that. They don't get into individual violations for individual outfalls.
Right. Right.
Now, they could,
Was
if
this
DNR
concern
decided
water
they didn't have enough money
wastewater?
to handle that particular
Call
service,
EPA.
then they would just
if
turn it
it's
all back.
ammonia and nitrates, it'd be wastewater.
The whole state or the whole issue on that violation that we can't handle.
No. It's either all or
But
nothing.
see, we haven't even discharged in almost 3 years, so.
nevertheless, it's even out of compliance 10 of the last 12 quarters.
I'd like to see a copy of the letter too.
Well, it's not a letter, it was just a website.
The Echo Watch list.
Oh, well, Sierra Club types.
I don't think so, but.
Well, we remember we went through the thing about,
I do remember that. I think this is. I'll send you the link tonight,
okay.
and I'll send you one too. If you're not
There was another,
terribly excited, I tried to talk to.
It reminds me of that commercial where they say that it was on the internet. They can't put anything not truthful on the internet. I mean,
there's truth and there's truth. There was something on the internet that said that we had harmful chemicals in our water. Well, that was technically true, but we were like 1/10 of the threshold of hazard set by EPA. We were in compliance with every federal and state
It's
regulation.
like there's
It was a lobbying group that wanted the
regulation out on the
standards.
street.
As long as everybody understands that we're gonna have some sort of level, it may not be over the maximum contaminant, but there's gonna be readings and stuff, so. As far as I know, there's nothing out there.
Okay,
I'll print that out for you. You can walk me through it sometime.
Okay. Well, like I said, I got a call, I'm supposed to go get a copy of the site and everything tomorrow, and what information they had gathered, so I'll see what's up.
I'd be, if you got that well. Okay.
yeah.
So we got the mower go back up and going,
Yep, they had to go on the day and a half.
broke wheel.
Yeah, it cracked around the studs. Just, they think just the weight, they actually went with the heavier the center rim there. It was just the centerpiece they took out. They actually put a heavier one in it. They're I think just the weight of it when that arm's all the way out and it's sitting there flexing, just finally cracked it and then it just popped.
I assume the other, they checked the other wheel and didn't have a problem with
Yeah.
that side.
Well, the other one had been checked because they replaced the bolts and wheel weight on it first part of the summer. So they had did all the part and they had checked all
Okay.
the, while they had it off.
Okay, as may arise.
When that boom's mowing, how far out does it reach?
2 feet.
Depends on the operator.
Okay.
How far can it?
What's our motivation? How far do we need to reach?
I've got all kinds of motivations, but that's not really an important issue here.
It gets close to 20. I think it's about 20.
Well, that's a nice piece of equipment you got there.
If you
I
could
take
load
care.
that up, I'd get in line.
Dude, heck, you're about in line. We'll run her out. We'll start renting it
How'd
out.
your meeting go with Mr. Clifford? Since
Well,
your dad made a rise?
I met with him and toured the inside of the building. So,
You went inside that building?
I did, I had a hard on.
That's sure that
Did
would
you
help you.
go out and went to my office or you?
I took the one out of my office.
Okay, did they go on?
No, they did show, but he had something else come up at work. But he is contacting Mr. De La Rosa, and, he will be also touring that building hopefully the next week or so.
Okay.
So,
Well, I had this in the office there.
okay.
All right.
But he's got a lot of work to do.
Is anything on this list been done?
He's got a lot of work to do.
Okay, that answers my question.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.